On Crimewatch tonight, investigation into a bloody murder at Whampoa Drive and the arrest of a courier of forged documents.
On the 1st of July 2007, a bloody murder happened here in Whampoa Drive. A man was killed in cold blood in front of his own doorway. Hi, I'm ASP Jessica Ang. Welcome to another episode of Crimewatch. The Special Investigation Section, SIS in short, is one of the premier investigation units in the CID, the Criminal Investigation Department of the Singapore Police Force. It is a dedicated unit tasked to solve major and specialized crimes such as firearm offences, kidnap, and murder. Our first story tonight looks at one aspect of the work of officers from the SIS through the Whampoa Drive murder. Contrary to what people think, a confession is not the end of an SIS investigation, but rather the beginning. In this case, the culprit confessed that he had killed the victim, but pertinent questions such as, did he act alone, or is there a mastermind, are what the team had to uncover. Find out how police investigated the case to make sure no stones were left unturned.
On the 1st of July 2007 at about 5:12 a.m., Manap bin Salib was on his way home from work when he was suddenly attacked. Sunday morning, Manap's body would lie dead, undiscovered on the common corridor, until some 3 hours later. Madam Tan was on her way out when she saw the bloody scene outside her neighbor's flat. Immediately, she called the police. Officers from the Kampong Java Police Center were dispatched to the scene, followed soon after by officers from the Special Investigation Section. Io Zainal, who has been an investigator with the SIS for 16 years, was assigned to handle the investigations. Officers from the Forensic Management Branch of CID were also present to process the crime scene. One of their main tasks was to gather evidence for subsequent forensic analysis. Police at the crime scene noted the bloody footprints, a large pool of blood at the corner of the lift landing, and droplets of blood leading to the 14th floor. Forensics would later ascertain that all the blood at the scene belonged to the victim. And as with any murder scene, the forensic pathologist was also present to conduct an examination of the deceased.
Multiple stab wounds on the chest, neck and back. What would be your estimation time of death?
I estimate that the victim would have died 3 to 6 hours ago, or between 5 and 8 a.m.
24-year-old Aniza binti Isa, wife of the deceased, was brought back to the police headquarters to assist in the investigations.
Do you know why would anyone want to kill your husband?
I really don't know. He could be the Along. He owes them money. He could be the secret societies too. He's involved in secret societies. It must have been them.
However, Io Zainal was not convinced. From his years of experience dealing with similar cases, he found Aniza's behavior as the wife of the victim not normal. Aniza was the one who had first discovered her husband's body on the corridor. But instead of going out to see if he was still alive, she had shut the door. She said she was frightened, and yet she didn't call the police. Suspecting that something was amiss, one of the documents the police went through was her phone records. And this revealed something suspicious. Just prior to the time of the murder, there had been several text messages sent to one particular number. The number was traced to someone named Nasir. The last contact was at 5:12 a.m.
We have checked your phone records, right? Who were you contacting in the early hours of the morning so many times? The last call was about 5:12 a.m. It was about the same time your husband was killed. Who is this person?
Nobody.
Who's Nasir?
He's my boyfriend. He did it. He killed my husband.
When confronted with evidence from her phone records, Aniza pinpointed her boyfriend, Nasir, as the one who had killed her husband. This revelation opened up more questions for the police. Was Aniza telling the truth? Did Nasir have an accomplice? Was Aniza involved? The revelation marked the beginning of even more intense police investigations. Find out after the break what else was uncovered.
Early the next morning, police staked out Rivervale Drive where Nasir lived. There they waited for confirmation that Nasir was at home before they moved in.
Hello?
Confirm suspect is in the unit. Move in.
Okay. Thanks, let's go.
Makcik, I'm Zainal from the police. Is Nasir in?
Sleeping inside the room.
Can you please open the door? Open the door. Say, police, please dress up and follow us back. We are placing you under arrest in connection with a case of murder.
From Nasir's flat, police seized a pair of his shoes, as well as some of his clothes and a bag. As the police escorted Nasir to the police car, Nasir suddenly confessed.
Yes, I did it. I killed Manap.
Where is the weapon that you used?
I threw it into the canal. I'll show you.
Nasir brought the police to the canal near Block 74. It was low tide.
Where did you throw the knife? Show me where.
Over there into the canal.
Over there? Is that the knife? Is that the knife? You sure?
Yes.
There in plain sight on the canal floor was the murder weapon, a 30-centimeter kitchen knife which Nasir had taken from the pub where he worked. Nasir confessed to killing Manap and related to the police what happened that fateful day. In the early hours of the morning of the murder, both Aniza and Nasir, who worked at the same pub, took the company van home. According to the driver, they were kissing in the rear of the van during the trip. He also noted that Nasir and Aniza got out at Block 74 together. This was unusual. Usually, the driver would drop Aniza first, followed by Nasir at his house in Rivervale.
I'll let you know what time he's coming back. Gonna do it for me, right?
Yes.
Nasir told the police it was Aniza who provided him with information over the phone while he waited at the lift landing.
What happened next?
Aniza messaged me several times that night to inform me where he was. I waited for him behind the lift. When he was out, I stabbed him from the back. He ran to a corner. I stabbed him several times. I thought I killed him. But I was at the 14th floor. I heard keys in the gate. Then I realized he didn't die. So I went back and stabbed him in his chest.
During the interview, Nasir also revealed he had tried to kill Manap on other occasions.
I have tried to kill Manap once before.
A day before the fatal stabbing, Nasir had waited for Manap to leave for work. Nasir told Aniza he did not stab him. Colleagues said they saw them arguing that night.
You're just a coward. You're just a coward.
That was not Nasir's first failed attempt. About 2 weeks before the murder, Nasir had approached a man named Saigon, who was a regular at the place he worked, for assistance.
Hi, I need someone to kill a person. Do you know anyone?
Of course. I know a few from Thailand. How many do you want?
How much?
4,000? You have money?
I will get you the money. Here's the information about that person. Saigon. I asked him twice, but he did not do it.
But was Nasir telling the truth? Could Saigon be an accomplice? To corroborate Nasir's story and rule out Saigon as an accomplice, I.O. Zainal had to speak with Saigon. The name Saigon was quite well known to the police because of his past drug offenses. Finding him did not prove a problem.
Yeah, Saigon. I know his girlfriend. He's staying in Geylang.
Saigon was soon apprehended by the police and brought back to the station. To verify Nasir's story, police began questioning Saigon about Nasir's attempts to hire a killer.
Do you know this boy?
Yeah. Nasir. I remember him. It was some kid who wanted me to hire somebody to kill someone.
Did you do it?
Oh, please. He was only a kid. I was only joking to the boy. I don't know any killers from Thailand.
Nasir told us that he had given you an envelope. Is that true?
Now that you mention it, it's in my bag.
Can you explain this to me? Your address written on this piece of paper and Manap's photograph.
Yeah, I gave him the pictures, but I didn't write the address.
The piece of paper with handwriting recovered in the envelope was handed over to the Health Sciences Authority for examination.
We compared samples of Aniza and Nasir's handwriting to what was written at the back of the song request slip, and we found that it is highly likely that Nasir had written part of the address. And we also cannot rule out the possibility that Aniza had written the rest of it.
3 of the shoe prints found at the scene were submitted for analysis and were confirmed to have been possibly made by Nasir's shoes. Blood on the bag recovered from Nasir's house also yielded positive DNA results.
The DNA profile of the blood stain on the bag matched to the deceased.
Police by now had enough physical evidence to prove that Nasir planned to kill Manap and had in fact carried out the deed. However, his motive was not clear. Was Aniza, the victim's wife, the mastermind?
Tell us, Nasir, why did you want to kill Manap?
For Aniza, she said she loved me and do anything for me if I did it. And Manap was in the way. And it would be easier if he is no longer around.
I just can't tolerate his nonsense anymore. He's so useless. He keeps asking me for money and he just won't give me a divorce. Nasir, if Manap is gone, we don't have to be sneaking around. You can stay with me. You want that, right?
Of course.
Then you'll finish him off. Stab him. Make it look like someone else did it. You just don't love me enough, Nasir. I'll just get someone else to do it.
No. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do anything for you. I'll prove it to you.
But Aniza told a different story.
I already told you. I don't know why he did it. If he said he did it for me, then that's his thinking.
Aniza continued to deny she had any part to play in the death of her husband. However, due to sufficient evidence gathered against her, she was subsequently charged in court.
Aniza pleaded guilty to getting 16-year-old Nasir to kill her husband. Psychiatric reports concluded that she was suffering from depressive episodes which diminished her responsibility for the crime. She was sentenced to 9 years imprisonment. Muhammad Nasir Abdul Aziz was convicted of murder, but because he was below 18 at the time of the crime, he is currently being detained indefinitely at the president's pleasure. Young people are often impressionable and open to challenges. This aspect of youth is often preyed on by the criminal minds. In this case, Nasir, a juvenile, was made use of by Aniza, an adult, the mastermind behind the plot to have her husband killed. As CID strives to be cutting edge in crime fighting, every case has to be thoroughly looked into, and this includes the Whampoa Drive murder. Every bit of a statement or confession is meticulously counter-checked and, where possible, verified against hard physical evidence. This tedious and thorough investigative process undertaken by the SIS is crucial, as anyone placed behind bars must be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
After the break, how the ICA nabbed a courier of forged documents.
The use of forged or invalid documents, such as lost or stolen identity cards and immigration passes, are serious crimes. Invalid identity cards, for example, can be used by immigration offenders to apply for jobs, and forged immigration passes can trick a homeowner to rent his flat or house to immigration offenders. If you are an employer hiring workers or a homeowner looking to rent your flat or house, these forged or invalid identity cards and immigration passes may lead you to unwittingly employ or harbor immigration offenders. In Singapore, the Immigration and Checkpoints Authority, or ICA, is constantly on guard against the threat posed by syndicates making and selling forged or invalid identity cards and immigration passes, as our next story shows.
On the morning of 16th August 2009, ICA received an unusual phone call.
Hello, ICA?
This evening at Woodlands Centre, an Indian man in blue t-shirt will be near an ATM. He will have a small boy with him. He will be bringing in forged ICs and passes, passing them to his contact.
That morning, the ICA received a tip-off that a man in possession of forged ICs and passes would be at the Woodlands Centre. As time was short, the ICA had to act fast.
Gentlemen, we don't have a lot of time. We need to move as quickly as possible. This is our target area, and all we know is an Indian man with a small boy wearing a blue shirt near an ATM. Any questions?
No, sir.
Right, let's go.
Once at the location, ICA officers moved quickly and discreetly into position. A few hours later, when an Indian man in blue was spotted, there was an immediate alert.
Target spotted, possible suspect, Indian man in blue. He could be our target. Let's see what he does.
From his suspicious behavior, the ICA had no doubt that this was their man. But his contact was still nowhere in sight.
Look at the bulge in his pocket. That must be where he keeps the passes.
I don't think his contact is coming.
As the hours wore on, ICA officers became concerned that the suspect would eventually notice them and dispose of his package.
Something is wrong. I think he's given up. Looks like he's going to throw whatever he has in his pocket. Let's move in.
Roger that.
Roger that.
Concerned that the man might get rid of evidence, ICA officers moved in.
Excuse me, sir. I'm Muhammad Sadiq from ICA. Can I please have some identification, please?
Sure, no problem.
The man identified himself as 45-year-old Mubarak bin Mohammed, a Singapore citizen.
Are you in possession of any prohibited items?
Of course no, sir. I'm here with my son to have dinner.
Empty your pockets, please, sir.
Amongst the items in the package were identity cards, employment passes, and forged work permits. To the trained eye, it was clear that all the items were fakes and forgeries.
This IC is forged. These other documents look forged as well. Please follow me to IC building to explain yourself.
Are you hungry?
Father and son were brought back to the ICA. While calls were made to get in touch with the grandmother of the boy, ICA was verifying the validity of the documents and passes.
We have verified all the ICs and other documents are forgeries.
So where did you get these documents from?
There's this man by the name of Aling. He paid me to go to Malaysia and collect the item. And I supposed to pass the item to a contact person at Woodlands. But he didn't turn up.
45-year-old Mubarak Mohammed was sentenced to 36 months imprisonment for possession of forged identity cards and other documents. As an employer or homeowner, it is your responsibility to ensure that the people you hire or rent out to are not using invalid identity cards or passes. Here is an easy way you can check if the ICs or immigration passes are valid or not. You can check with ICA's e-services iCheck for identity cards and Verify for immigration passes. You only need to provide your own NRIC number and date of issue if you are a Singapore citizen or permanent resident, or FIN number and name if you are a holder of an immigration pass or work pass. Then, key in the particulars of your prospective employee or tenant for an immediate verification of the validity of his IC or immigration pass. iCheck and Verify can be found on the ICA website. We have come to the end of this episode of Crimewatch. If you have any feedback, do drop us an email. I'm ASP Jessica Ang, signing off.